Hello guys, my name is Desmond and I welcome you to my YouTube channel. Guys, thanks very much for joining. I hope you will enjoy today's lesson. So, in case if you're watching this video from one of our platforms, it could be Facebook, on Instagram, TikTok, or whichever platform. Um, just know that we've already done all of these questions on our live lesson that we had on our YouTube channel. So every day at 8:30, I do live lessons where I solve all these questions. So the advantage of watching a live lesson is because you have an opportunity to watch all the questions and again be able to ask questions while the session is still on. But on other platforms, I'll be posting each question on a daily basis. So guys, today's lesson is suitable for grade 10s, 11 and 12s. And again, if you are upgrading your mathematics, this lesson is also suitable for you. And most importantly, guys, we do have mentors, private teachers, as well as educators who find value in our lessons, and they also join my online lessons. So guys, without any waste of time, for today's lesson, I'm hoping to get to a point where towards the end or by the end of this lesson, you should be able to solve these questions that you see. I've got this question paper posted on my Telegram channel. If you've got a Telegram, you can just search for solving exam papers. That's where you'll be able to access a lot of question papers. I don't only post for mathematics or the subjects that I do, I post for all other high school subjects. So for today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to solve these questions, and again, I'm going to show you how they will mark these questions and also where you score marks so that you don't miss out important steps when you solve these questions. So guys, without any waste of time, we'll start with question 1. I'll try by all means to be as slow as possible so that we don't lose each other. So now we'll start with the first question, which is question 1.1.1. So for now, guys, you don't need to write anything. You can just pull out your calculator, have a glass of water next to you, and just watch and listen. I'll make sure to have this lesson available on my YouTube channel under the playlist of live online lessons, where you'll be able to replay this video over and over again. That's where you'll be writing the notes where necessary, and again, in case if you'll be practicing these questions, and refer to this video for answers. So guys, the first question is allocated 3 marks. Okay, so we've got x squared plus x minus 12. So guys, as you can see, this is an equation where we have to solve. And remember, from my previous lessons, I've indicated that when this type of questions are given 3 marks or less, and again, if they didn't tell me to round off to 2 decimal places, then I know I don't have to use a quadratic formula. So that means this is where you can straight away factorize. So guys, why do I straight away factorize? It's because this equation is already equated to 0, and again, I cannot further simplify this equation. You've got x squared, you cannot work it out with x, you cannot work it out with 12. You've got x, you cannot work it out with 12. You have 12, which is just a number, and everything is equated to 0. Otherwise, if it was equated to a number which is not 0, then I was going to take it to the left, simplify until it gets to a stage where you cannot further simplify, just like this step. Then that's where you straight away factorize. So this is a straightforward question. The factors are pretty much easy. You know, obviously, two numbers that when you multiply with each other, they give you 12. Obviously, it's 3 and 4. So it's just a matter of you choosing the signs, okay? So obviously, for you to have a positive x there, that's when the bigger number takes the positive sign and the smaller number takes a negative sign. So just to test it, guys, if you say x times x, it's x squared, x times 4, it's 4x, 3 times x is 3x, which is minus 3x, then obviously 4 minus 3, it gives you that positive 1. And then negative 3 times 4 gives you negative 12. So that confirms that these factors are correct. You obviously know your last stage is just to equate this to 0, or x plus 4 is equals to 0. Obviously, because you're solving, you want to have x on the left side of the equal sign, and you move the number to the right side of the equal sign. You write it in the opposite sign, it's positive 3. So you're done with this part, and you do the same for this part, where x is written on the left side of the equal sign, it's equals to, you move 4 to the right side of the equal sign, it becomes 4. So that means, obviously, remember, it's negative 4. You write it in the opposite sign. So this is how you score your full 3 marks. So remember, guys, I'm glad I almost made that mistake. I want to tell you, and I would like to emphasize this point, guys. At all times, please do take note of the mistakes that you make when you practice. Guys, there's a value in every mistake. That's why as you grow, you hear a lot of adults saying we learn from our mistakes. That's because for every mistake that you do as an adult, you note down that mistake. It's either you just have it in the back of your mind so that you never forget and never repeat the same mistake. So guys, a mistake that I almost made here is because I almost forgot to write this 4, that 4 in the opposite sign. So when I say you should note it down, I mean I should at all times remember that when I get to this stage, I have to write that number in the opposite sign. Otherwise, I may lose some marks. I hope you understand what I mean when I say there's a value in every mistake. So I pray that as we continue with this question, with these questions, I make more mistakes so that I make you aware of those mistakes. Obviously, you'll be able to remember in the exam room that you are most likely to make this kind of mistakes in this kind of questions. So it doesn't help to just do everything correctly without doing mistakes, because with these mistakes you are able to notice in exam that, oh, with this kind of questions there are possible mistakes, and these are the mistakes that one may make, so that you remember those kind of mistakes and you'll be aware of those mistakes and make sure to not make those mistakes. Okay, so now in terms of marking this question, guys, they are going to give you a 1 mark for correct factors, okay, and your second mark will come from the correct value of x, and the other mark will come from the correct value of x. So you obviously notice that you've got 2 values of x, and you score marks for each of these values, and the other value comes from the correct factor. So that means this is the step which is not given any marks. Okay, so you can just in the meantime have a glass of water, then we'll be moving to question number 2. Okay guys, so now let's move to question 1.1.2. There is the question. I hope you are able to see. So question 1.1.2, we are given square root of 2x plus 1, which is equals to x minus 1. In this question, it's allocated 5 marks. Okay, so we'll solve the question. In the end, I'll show you exactly where you score marks. So guys, with this kind of equations where you've got a square root, the first thing that you need to do is to remove that square root. And this is how you remove a square root. You introduce a squared on both sides. So by that squared, that's how you remove the square root. So you obviously do what you did on the left, you repeat it on the right side of the equal sign. You always know that what you do on the left, you do on the right. So guys, when you see a square root, this is the way in which you remove it. You remove it by showing that squared, and to equate, you also introduce a square to the right side. You remember from the basic rules. So now guys, you just write 2x plus 1, which is whatever which is inside the square root, because by introducing that squared, you want to remove that square root. Obviously, it's equals to, you know, that squared on the right side, what it means is that you've got two of these. So it's x minus 1, it's x minus 1. Can you see, guys? So now your next step is obviously to concentrate on removing those brackets. So guys, the first step, you remove the square root and you have those brackets. The second step, you want to remove the brackets. So 2x plus 1, you cannot further simplify that. It just remains as it is. So it's 2x plus 1, which is equals to, obviously, you know, when you have this, is that times that, that times that, this times this times that. Okay, so it's obviously x squared. It's x times x, it's x squared. X times negative 1, it's negative 1x. And then negative 1x times x, it's negative x. Negative 1 times negative 1, you know, negative times negative is positive. 1 times 1, it's 1. Okay, I hope you fully understand that part. So now guys, what we want to do now is just to simplify that given expression, or the expression that we just made from that those two brackets. So now this remains as it is. Why? Because you cannot add 2x and 1. So this is equals to, it's x squared negative x, it gives you what is it? I just want to check if I haven't made any mistakes so far. I don't think so. So this is negative 2x, this is plus 1. Okay, so now what we want to do, it's obviously to move everything from the left to the right side. Okay. And the reason we're doing this, it's because we want to equate this to 0, simplify, and get to a stage where we can not further simplify and start to factorize. Okay, so now you can just write everything as it is on the left side, which is 2x plus 1. You just move everything to the left side of the equal sign. So you change a sign. Remember, we've just learned from the first question that you must change the sign when you move a term to the other side of the equal sign. So it's negative x squared, it's plus 2x, it's minus 1, which is equals to 0. So let's see, it's negative, it's positive, it's negative, it's equals to 0. So now we can simplify all of this. Can you see? So let's simplify it such that we want to write it in the standard form. Remember the standard form, it's ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So the reason why we equated to 0 is because we wanted to have all of this in the standard form, of quadratic form. Why quadratic? Because we saw there's that squared. So it means for each and every equation that you see or that you derive, the moment you see x squared, it doesn't matter whether it's 1 there, if it's 2, 3, whatever number it is, as long as you've got x squared, you must try by all means to write it in the standard form. Okay, so that means obviously it will be negative x squared. This is that negative x squared, and then you work out these values with x, just so that you can derive that bx. So 2 plus 2xx is equals to 4x. Okay, so obviously you've got 1 minus 1, which is equals to 0. So this is equals to 0. Okay, so guys, that means is the same as negative x squared plus 4x. I'm just ignoring that 0 because it's just 0, so this is equals to 0. Okay, so now remember guys, the standard form, can you see our a, it's positive there, so I want to have a positive a even there on this equation. So I can just change every sign along that equation. So if I change, then this is positive x, this will change to be negative 4x, which is equals to, this is 0, it's there, right? Negative 0 or positive 0, it's one and the same thing, so you just write 0. Okay, one may say you divide by negative 1, you divide each term by negative 1, so negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1, 4 divided by negative 1, it will be negative 4, 0 divided by negative 1, it will be 0. You can still punch it on a calculator and verify. Okay, so now guys, can we further simplify this? We can't. Just like with question 1.1.1, there was a stage where I've just indicated that we cannot further simplify that equation. So if we can't, that's where we can now factorize. But firstly, with this one, this is how you factorize it, because you see it's 0, so you just take out x as common factor, then you have x on the outside into x minus 4. So you took out x as common factor because x is on the first term and the second term. So now that means your x it's equals to 0. This is that x which is equals to 0. Or x minus 4, it's equals to 0. And you see guys, so obviously you know when you get to this stage, you just want to solve for x. Your x, it's equals to, you write 4 to the other side of the equal sign, it becomes positive 4. Okay, so guys, at all times, please remember that when you solve for x, in the end, you must tell that x is equals to a certain value. X is equals to a certain value. So in most cases, when you have this kind of equations with a square root, you might find that between these two values, one of these two values is correct, and the other one, it might not be applicable. So guys, I'm giving you as a homework. After this lesson, just try to substitute 0 there and check what number you get. And again, substitute 0 there and check what number you get when you punch on a calculator. If you don't find the same answers, then it means this is where you can say not applicable under your answer where x is equals to 0, or otherwise the other one can just do like this. And again, perform the same calculation where you substitute there by 4, get a number, and again substitute there by 4 and compare those answers. If they are the same, then it means for this question x it's equals to 4 and x it's not equals to 0. Otherwise you can just say not applicable under x it's equals to 0. That's if your x which is 0, when you substitute there and there, you don't get the same answers. So now guys, this is where you score your first mark. When they mark your answer sheet, this is where they will give you your first mark. Okay, so now your second mark, guys, comes from you writing all of these in the standard form. I'm not sure if you are able to see where you've written it in the standard form. So this is where you've written it in the standard form. Okay, so now after you've written it in the standard form, they will also give you a mark for factorization, guys. This is how you factorize. Okay, so now the other mark will come on this x value, and the last mark will come from this x value. So I hope you're able to see where you score marks for this question. So guys, remember, if you've got any questions, comments, suggestions, please do comment on the comment section so that I'm able to take note of what you're suggesting or commenting. So guys, I may be a little bit fast, but I know that with these kind of questions, I don't necessarily need to be that much slow, because you can still try to redo this by yourself and only verify on the video just to check if you have done it correctly. But otherwise, as I've indicated, you don't have to write during a live lesson. You just listen, have your calculator to confirm one or two things, because you will still have an opportunity to replay this video as soon as I'm done with this lesson. So guys, this is how you score your 5 marks. I think it is that moment where we can just have a glass of water. Okay guys, so now let's prepare to move to the next question. So guys, if you've watched until this far, it's a good indication to me that you're enjoying these lessons. So I would like to just encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you are notified of future uploads. Okay, so guys, let's now move to a question 1.1.3, and this question is allocated 4 marks. So guys, it's a good indication that this question is not that much complicated. We just need to take a deep breath and apply the basics. So guys, I've just done a lesson yesterday where I was teaching, not yesterday, but today at I think that lesson premiered at 1 o'clock, where I was teaching basic rules. So the rule, I'm actually applying the same rules to this question. So I would advise you to just check out that video. I posted it today. It premiered today at 1 o'clock. So you can just check it out before you check this video. So otherwise, if there's somewhere you don't understand where I solve for these questions, you can just check it out. You'll be able to notice how I apply those basic rules to these questions. So now, guys, we've got 2 to the exponent x square root of x, which is equals to 2 to the exponent 27. Okay, so guys, I want you to actually notice something. I want you to notice something, guys. Can you see the bases are the same, right? The bases are the same. So you know, if the bases are the same, you can just drop those bases, and then from there you can work out the exponents. But otherwise, we can just straight away work out those exponents, because whichever way that you do, it's acceptable and it will lead you to the same answer. So we've got 2 to the exponent, let's say, into square root of x. I'll just explain that shortly. And again, which is equals to 2 to the exponent, let's see, 27. I just want to show you guys ways in which you can approach this question, and then from there I'll do the simplest method. So guys, remember, with the previous question I've just shown you how to remove the square root. Okay, so that means when you remove the square root, you can just introduce a squared, and then it will square by removing that, and it will also square that too. So that means you'll have to square 27. Okay, so that is another way in which you can approach this question. So I just want to bring it to your attention that it might take a bit longer if you do it that way. But now I'm going to do the simplest method. So it doesn't necessarily mean this is the only method, but you can still apply the other method where I've just shown you the first step to that other method. So guys, remember, 2 to the exponent x times x to the exponent 1 over 2 is the same as the whole of this, which is equals to 2 to the exponent 27. So guys, if you have square root of 3, okay, this thing is the same as 3 to the exponent half. If you've got 7, a square root of 7 is the same as 7 to the exponent half. Okay, so this is the same thing, guys. It's one and the same thing. Okay, so if you've got, let's say for example, 3 to the exponent 2, this is the same as 2 to the exponent 1 over 3. So it's more like there's a 2 there which is not written. Okay, if you've got a square root of b, let's say 4 there, this is the same as b to the exponent 1 over 4. Okay, so just to make it practical and for you to be able to understand, the reason why when you've got square root of x, the reason why when you want to remove the square root, you introduce a square root, it's because this, as I've explained, is the same as x to the exponent 1, isn't it? That's what I've explained. So the reason why you multiply by 2 to remove that square root is because when you multiply by 2 is the same as x to the exponent 1 over 2 multiplied by 2. So these 2 cancels and you remain with x to the exponent 1. You remember from the basic rules, x to the exponent 1 is the same as x. And remember, if this was equated to something, then that's where you would introduce a squared on both sides of the equation, just like we did with the previous equation. Okay, so now guys, I'm glad we had this question. So remember, from time to time I'm going to refer to the basic rules that I've done today. So because we are multiplying the same basis, and remember there it's 1 even though it's not written, so this thing is more like it's 2 to the power 1 multiplied by x to the power half, which is equated to 2 to the exponent 27. So you remember that rule where they say I think it was a to the exponent m times a to the exponent n, it's equals to a to the exponent m plus n. Why? Because the bases are the same, so you can just write a and then you add the exponents. Okay, so we're going to apply the same rule even on this question. So it's more like we're going to add 1 and a half. So 2 to the exponent x, what is 1 plus a half, guys? This is 1 and a half, isn't it? 1 and a half is the same as 3 over 2, isn't it? You can just punch this on a calculator and see what you get. You'll get 1,5 or 3 over 2. So that means 1 plus half is the same as 3 over 2. Okay, which is equals to, obviously this remains the same throughout. So guys, I hope you do understand what I'm doing there, or what I'm doing here. Otherwise, if you don't understand, I would encourage you to watch the lesson that I've done today at 1 o'clock. That's when you'll have a full understanding of exactly what I'm doing here. So guys, because the bases are the same, I can just drop them and focus on the exponents. So that means x to the exponent 3 over 2 is equals to 27. I hope you agree with me on that one. So now, because I'm solving for x, guys, I want to remove that exponent. So that exponent is 3 over 2. So I can just multiply by 2 over 3. So remember, what I do on the left, I also do on the right. So that means it's 27 to the exponent 2 over 3. Okay, so guys, this cancels, I'm remaining with x, which is equals to 27 to the exponent 2 over 3. So now this is where you can just pull out your calculator and punch 27 to the exponent 2 divided by 3. So the answer that I'm getting, it's 9, guys. I'm not sure if you are able to see, but I can just explain to you exactly what you're supposed to do. You just punch on a calculator 2 to the exponent. You can even put it in brackets into 2 divided by 3 close. You should get your answer as 9. Okay, so guys, I've spent a lot of time on this question, not necessarily because it's worth that time. It's because I had to explain all of that I've explained so that you're able to understand how to arrive at that final answer. So without any waste of time, I'm going to show you exactly where you score marks. Okay, so your first mark, guys. So your first mark comes from that step. They can give you a mark from that step. Remember, this question is allocated 4 marks. Okay, so the second mark, they'll just give it to you for dropping for dropping those bases and bringing the exponents, or just for equating the exponents. It tells that you understand those basic rules, that when you've got the same basis, you can just drop the exponents and equate the exponents. Okay, so the other step, guys, you get it by just multiplying by the reciprocal of that exponent. The reciprocal is just you swapping the positions. You swap the denominator and the numerator. I think this is the numerator and this is the denominator. You can just confirm that for me. I forgot which one it is. So guys, your fourth mark comes from that final answer, which is 9. So this is how you score your 4 marks, guys. So with all of this step, it's more like I was just trying to explain to you how you get to this final answer. Okay, so guys, let's make use of this opportunity to just have a glass of water, and then from there we'll continue with the next question. So guys, I hope you are ready for the next question. It shouldn't be that long. I'll just write down the question. It's 1.1.4. It's given as x squared minus 2x minus 8 less than 0. So these are inequalities, guys. This question is allocated 3 marks. Then just note it down there so that I don't forget to show you where you score your marks. So guys, with regards to inequalities, I think I must do a special video where I take you through these inequalities, because you might not fully understand how we arrive at the final answer. But guys, because all of this is equated to 0 and you cannot further simplify this, and for the fact that it's given 3 marks, it means it's not that much complicated. We won't have to go through a lot of steps. So you can just straight away factorize. You get the factors. Obviously, this is also not complicated to get the factors. You know you've got 4 and 2. When you multiply this by that, it gives you 8. Okay, so again, you obviously know this is a negative sign, this is a positive sign, so that when you say negative 4, positive 2, it gives you negative 2. Okay, so there's something called critical values, guys. Critical values comes from your factors. You know that's where your x is equals to 4, or your x is equals to negative 2. Okay, so you can just draw that and indicate that you've got negative 2, you've got 4. So obviously these are your critical values. So now, because of that sign which is less than, that's where you have those circles there, and then after having those circles, this is where you then need to indicate by means of arrows if you'll be having an arrow in that direction, an arrow in that direction, or you'll be just joining those two circles. Guys, this is where you need to use your calculator. So the question is, for which values of x will all of this be less than 0? We know a number which is less than 0 is a negative number. So guys, let's pull out our calculator and do this exercise. So we're going to check for values from -2 going in that direction. We'll check with the values in between. We'll check with the values in greater than 4. So now let's first start with maybe -5. So what you do, you pull out your calculator. In place of x, you substitute -5. So it will be open -5 close squared minus 2 into -5 close minus 8. Let's punch it's equals to I'm not really sure of where I made a mistake, but I'll just redo it. So it's -5, you close bracket, you square, minus 2 into -5, you close, and then you minus 8. It's equals to, can you see, you get a positive number. We are not really interested about that number because we could have used any other number as long as it's a number which is less than -2 or a number on this side of -2. So we just want to see a sign if it's positive or negative. So we've just noticed that it's a positive number, which means a positive number is greater than 0. So it's not what we are looking for. So let's try with a number between these two critical values. Then you substitute, you can maybe substitute -1, you can substitute 0, 1, 2, 3. Those are the numbers which are between these two critical values. So I'll substitute 3. The other one, please substitute a different number. You can substitute -1 or 0 or 1 or 2. I'm going to substitute 3. So when I substitute 3, can you see I'm getting a negative number? I'm not interested in the actual number that I get. I just want to know the sign. Okay, so when I punch when I punch a number which is between -2 and 4, I get a negative answer. So now let's try another number which is on this side of +4. I'm going to just maybe use 95. The other one, use a different number as long as it's greater than 4. Okay, it's equals to, can you see I'm getting a positive number. So I'm only interested in the sign of that answer. So can you see, guys, this equation, when we interpret it in words, we are saying for which values of x, when you substitute on this equation, will be less than 0. So guys, this is where you just join these lines. So what you're basically saying is that between -2 and 4, that's where the values of x, when you substitute there, are less than 0. How do we know they are less than 0? It's because all of them, when you substitute there, you get a negative number, and we know a negative number is less than 0. But when you substitute values from -2 going that side, they give you a positive sign or a positive number, which is obviously greater than 0. So it's not part of the answer. So you can either give this as your answer, or you can say that's where x is between -2 and 4. So always when you see this, guys, when you want to interpret this in words, it simply means between -2 and 4. So it means x is between -2 and 4. If you see something like 7, let's say less than, maybe y less than 4. In words, this thing, it means y it's between -7 and 4. That's what it means, guys. So otherwise, you can also give this answer differently by saying that's where x is less than 4, or where x it's less than negative 2. Okay, so this is how you can give answers to this question, guys. So before I forget, I have to show exactly where you score your marks. So you will get your first mark there where you were able to give us the factors. The other mark comes from critical values, and then the other mark comes from the final answer. Okay, so that's how you solve this question, guys. I hope you are now ready for the next question. In case if you didn't understand, you can just post a comment in the comment section, then I'll attend to that question. But one thing for sure, I have to I have to do a special video where I just do inequalities. The other one, remember guys, you can even show by means of a graph where you do something like that, where your graph touches those two critical points. So there are a lot of ways in which you can give the final answer, guys. So a good question might be asked. One would say, what if it was less and equal to? So that's where in those circles you make a solid circle. It's not an empty circle. So that's the difference. So guys, let's have a glass of water and get ready for the next question. So I assume you're now fully ready for the next question, guys. So the next question, it's 1.2. Okay, so I'll just read the statement there. They're saying given f of x is equals to 5x squared plus 6x minus 7. So question 1.2.1 says solve for x if f of x is equals to 0, and they say correct to 2 decimal places. This question is allocated 4 marks. Okay, so that means 5x squared plus 6x minus 7 is equals to 0. So guys, this question is allocated 4 marks. It's allocated 4 marks. So as I've indicated, guys, this question has got an extra mark as compared to the first question. I hope you are able to notice that. And again, because they said correct to 2 decimal places, don't waste time by trying to factorize this equation, guys. For the fact that they said correct to 2 decimal places, you must use quadratic formula. Okay, so you just straight away say x is equals to negative 4 plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You should know this formula by heart, guys. It's very, very much important. I learned this formula when I was in grade 9, and from there my life has always been busy when I have to factorize, because you don't only use this formula when you factorize in order to get the decimal number. You can even factorize this equation, that first equation, using this formula. You'll still get the correct factors. So I've never wasted time in grade 10, 11 and 12 providing the factors. I've always given the correct factors because I knew this formula by heart. I already knew how to use this formula. I learned it by myself. I think they normally teach this formula in grade 11. So when I got to grade 11, I already knew how to use this formula, so I wasn't struggling. So guys, that's why I'm saying it's very, very, very much important that you understand this formula and you understand how to use it. I will show you maybe towards the end of this lesson how you use that formula. Otherwise, if we run out of time on the next lesson, I'll show you how to use that formula for all the equations where you need to factorize. So guys, it's simple. Our a from that equation, it's 5. You already know from that standard equation. And then our b, it's equals to 6. Our c, it's equals to negative 7. Okay, so guys, at this stage, what you do is just to substitute all of this into the formula. Okay, so guys, it's obviously x, which is equals to negative our b at 6. Okay, so plus or minus square root of our b at 6, you square, minus 4, our a, it's 5 there, our c, it's negative 7, all over 2, our a, it's 5. Okay, I'm not sure if I've substituted everything correctly, but let's just verify. What matters the most is to always refer to the original equation. So your a, you can see it's 5, your b, it's positive 6, and your c, it's negative 7. It's very much important that you take note of those signs. Okay, so now guys, you punch all of this on a calculator by firstly using a positive sign. You go back, you change the sign to a negative, and you will get two values of x. X, it's equals to, from those two values of x, guys, remember to round off to 2 decimal places. So otherwise, if you don't round off, you stand a very good chance of losing some marks. So let's see, you start with a fraction button. This is a fraction button. I hope you're able to see there. Then you can say negative into, which is 6, you start with a positive sign, plus into, it's 6 squared minus 4, our a is 5, our c it's negative 7, that negative is very much important, all over 2, our a it's 5, then you get that fraction, you just punch that button to convert it to decimal. Okay, so now the answer that you get is 0.726. So you can see that this is where you need to round off to 2 decimal places. Then it becomes a 3 there because that number is greater than 4. Okay, so x, for the second value of x, you don't need to cancel all of this. You can just use that arrow to go to that positive, you delete, and then you press negative, you get that fraction, you select that button, you click on that button to convert it to decimal, then you get negative 1.93. Okay, so the other answer is negative 9. The negative 1.93. Okay, so it's very much important that you write the correct answer. So guys, that moment you've been waiting for. In this case, you are very much lucky. They give you a mark just to copy the formula from the formula sheet. They give you a mark for correct substitution. They give you a mark for correct answer, which was rounded to 2 decimal places. And they also give you a mark for correct answer, which is rounded to 2 decimal places. So guys, a glass of water. From there, we get ready to proceed to the next question. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are enjoying these lessons. If you do, just give me a like thumb. I'm sure there's somewhere you can just like the video. Otherwise, if you've got any questions, comments, whatever, you can just post in the comment section. I'll make sure to attend to those comments or questions. So now we move to question 1.2.2. This question is allocated 3 marks. So it says, hence or otherwise, calculate the value of d for which the whole of this is equals to 0 has equal roots. So guys, there's a change from that formula. You can see we had negative 7 there, it's negative d. So guys, listen and pay attention to this first statement. They say hence or otherwise. These two words, guys, they are very much important. So what they actually mean when they say hence, they are actually giving you a hint to refer to the previous question. When they say or otherwise, that means alternatively you can attend to this question without having to refer to the previous question. Okay, so take note of those two words. So that means you can use the previous question to assist you in answering this question, or otherwise just do it your own way in which you know how to solve that particular question. So that means there are multiple ways in which you can answer that question, but I'll obviously show you the simplest way of answering that question. So I'll just start with this statement, but before I do that, let me just write it down. It's 5x plus 6x minus d is equals to 0. Okay, so guys, for equal roots, this is what you can note down. For equal roots, okay, a delta or change is equals to 0. Remember from this formula, guys, negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac is equals to 2a. So this thing inside the brackets, it's what we call delta or change. So for equal roots, that means delta is equals to 0. So that means we just equate that to 0, which is b squared minus 4ac. You just equate it to 0. So that means this is delta, guys. Okay, so from that equation, what is b, what is a, what is c? Okay, so this will make our life even much easy, guys. Our b, obviously we know, hence or from the previous equation, our b is 6. So when we substitute, we've got 6 squared minus 4. Our a is 5, and then our c in this case, it's negative d, which is equals to 0. So can you see, guys, we are now calculating for the value of d, or we are solving for the value of d. We just use those basic rules that I've indicated on the previous lesson. So guys, what is 6 squared? Let's see. 6 squared, this is where you pull out your calculator. So 6 squared is equals to 36 minus 4 times 5. We know it's 20. It's 20. Remember, guys, it's 20 negative d, which is equals to 0. So that means you've got 36. Obviously, negative times negative becomes positive, which is 20d is equals to 0. Okay, so you move this to the right side of the equal sign. You remain with 20d on the left side. Why do you only move this one, guys? It's because you want to have the letter on the left and then the numbers on the right. That's why you move the numbers to the right side of the equal sign. So it obviously changes a sign. You remember, guys, from our very first question, we just noticed that we are most likely to make a mistake of not writing the term in the opposite sign when we move it to the other side of the equal sign. So we must always remember. So now, because we want to solve for d or calculate for d, this is where you substitute, you divide by 20. What you do on the left, you do on the right, so that it cancels and you remain with d. So what is 36 divided by 20? Let's just see. Negative 36 divided by 20. I'm not sure if you're able to see, but you can just use your calculator to check what answer you get. I hope you saw the answer. It's negative 9/5. Okay, so guys, this is how you solve for this question. I'm just quickly going to show you how you score your marks. So obviously, as you can see, this question, it's allocated 3 marks. Okay, so now this is where you score your marks, guys. They give you a mark for equating that, and they give you a mark for writing it in the standard form, and then they also give you a mark for the last question. So guys, a glass of water, then we get ready with question 1.3. Let's get ready for question 1.3. So guys, I hope you can see question 3. It's multiplious equation. It's 1.3. So this question, guys, they say solve for x and y simultaneously is given 6 marks. This is easy. I hope we won't take long on this question. It's very, very much easy. We are given 2 equations. It's equals to 20. So the equations that we are given, we refer to the first one as equation 1, and then the second one is equation 2. Then we start with equation 3. So between these two values, it's easy when you make x the subject of the formula. Then you're going to substitute it on the other equation. So because now we are making x the subject of the formula, it means we move everything to the right. So that means it's 2y minus 3. This becomes our third equation. Remember, guys, it changed a sign. So it didn't matter if I started with -3 and say plus 2y. I would still rearrange it such that I start with 2y minus 3 so that I avoid having a number which is negative. So now, because you've got the third equation, we now substitute this third equation into that second equation. So where we see x, we just substitute 2y minus 3 multiplied by y, it's equals to 20. So we just multiply by y. Okay, so it's obviously a 2y squared, y multiplied by minus 3, it's -3y, and then you can move that to the left, it changes the sign, it's minus 20 equated to 0. Okay, so guys, you cannot further simplify this. That means you must straight away factorize. Okay, it's equals to 0. So guys, I think this is an opportunity where I can use a quadratic formula to factorize this equation. I won't stress myself by trying to think what could be the factors. So guys, pull out your calculator, just say fraction button negative over our b, it's -3, you can see there, plus square root of -b, which is 3, you square, minus 4, our a is 2, our c is -20 over 2, our a is 2. So can you see I get x as 4? Okay, so that means my x is equals to 4. Okay, remember I'm going to have 2 values of x. Okay, the first one is 4, and then the second value, I'm not sure if okay, the second value, guys, you just go up there and you delete that positive sign and then you use a negative sign. Can you see the value that I get? It's -5 over 2. So that means my other final x value, it's -5 over 2. Okay, sorry guys, not negative, I mean not x but y. So it's actually supposed to be y there. Okay, so guys, these are my final values when I factorize this equation. So that means in brackets I just write these things. So that means it's x minus 4. Why minus 4? Because I know on that step in between, that's why I'm going to say x minus 4 is equals to 0. Then I move 4 to the right side of the equal sign, then it's equals to 4. So also for this, then I just write 2y there and I write it in the opposite sign. Okay, why? Because I know I'm going to say 2y plus 5 it's equals to 0. Then I'm going to move it to the right as -5 and divide it by 2. This is where it's divided by 2. Okay, I hope you understand that part. Then guys, what you do, you then obviously substitute these values into this equation that you created to get the x value. So x is equals to 2 into, you can substitute -5 over 2 in place of y, then -3, and then you can just punch on a calculator to see what answer you get. So it's 2 into negative over 5 over 2, you close, you subtract 3, then the answer that I get, it's negative 8. Okay, or let's see, x is equals to 2 into 4 minus 3, so x is equals to, let's see, just delete that fraction button, you delete the whole of that, then you substitute with 4 in place of y, then we get 5. Okay, so guys, it means where x is 8, the corresponding y value it's negative 5 over 2, where x is equals to 5, the corresponding y value it's equals to 4. So guys, that moment you've been waiting for, let's see, obviously you get your first mark. Guys, before I forget, this question is allocated 6 marks. It's a lot of marks. So guys, this is how you score your first mark for deriving the third equation. This is where they give you a mark. Okay, and again they give you a mark for correct substitution. So that means in place of x, you correctly substituted your third equation. Okay, from there they give you a mark for writing it in the standard form. This is where you score your mark. Okay, and then they give you a mark for correct factors. Remember guys, all of these are the factors, so this is where you score your fourth mark. I'm sure you're able to notice that you will score your mark for providing the y values, and your last mark will come from the x values. So guys, this is how you answer this question. So for those of you who'd like to access this question paper, guys, this was a 2015 grade 11 exam paper, a November exam paper, maths paper 1. So this was the whole of question 1. So I hope at this stage you do understand that, especially those who are in grade 12, you know that for exam papers in grade 10, your first question or question 1 is about solve for x. In grade 11, question 1 is about solve for x. Also in grade 12, you know, question 1 it's about solve for x. So it's very, very, very much important that you know how to solve for x, because this first question is allocated a lot of marks, guys. By just being able to solve all of these questions, you score 28 marks out of 150. The paper is out of 150. You've already scored a sizable amount of percentages towards you know, your what is it, your NTA mark. So guys, you must make sure that you score maximum marks. As I've said, if you want to access this question paper, it's posted on my Telegram channel. If you've got a Telegram, you can just search for solving exam papers. That's where you'll be able to join and freely access that question paper. That's where you'll be able to see other questions of which we'll do just before you get to your final exams. So guys, for tomorrow's lessons, I'm not really sure if we should also do these lessons even on Saturdays or on weekends. You can just let me know in the comment section if you'd like me to do these live lessons even on weekends. I don't mind. I enjoy doing these lessons. I will only be very much happy if you can just invite more friends so that they benefit from these lessons. And it will be beneficial to you, because if you attend these lessons with your friends, you'll be able to share ideas. In case if you get stuck, you can also consult with your friends so that you know, you don't just get lost alone. You'll be able to assist each other. So guys, thanks very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as I did, and I hope whenever we do another lesson, you will still be joining the lesson. So this brings us to the end of this lesson, guys. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. So guys, my name is Desmond and I'm out.